So our next unit is about congruent figures. We're going to focus specifically on triangles just because they're the most basic shape, but this easily transfers over to any other type of figure. The idea of congruent is basically it's a version of equals, but for geometric shapes. So like in an algebra class, you're solving an equation, you get something like x equals 5. That's numbers. You're talking about a numeric idea. With geometry, congruence is kind of the same thing. You're talking about things that are equal, but on a bigger scale. When you think of a triangle, you've got three angles in one triangle and three sides in a triangle. Well, there's 6 different pieces there. A congruent triangle would have the same 6 pieces equal to the 6 pieces of the original. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. So I've got a pair of congruent triangles listed here. Now I've kind of rotated them a little bit so they're not exactly identical. But the idea is every angle inside in the triangle on the left has a corresponding piece that it's equal to in the triangle on the right. Now, corresponding basically means that they match up. So I've got this 30-degree angle. I've got this 30-degree angle here in the first triangle. I've got a corresponding 30-degree angle in the other triangle. And you can go back and forth from left to right and match up all of these pieces here, right? Even the sides. I've got a side that's 1 meter here, a side that's 1 meter here, a side that's 2 meters here, a side that's 2 meters here. I don't have to list them all. You get the idea, hopefully. What I'm asking you to do today is to look at these things and be able to write what's called a congruence statement. And we'll get into that in just a second. So another example here, are these triangles congruent? Well, if you look real quick anyway, oh, hey, I've got a side that's 4.9, I've got another side that's 4.2, and where they fall apart from being the same are down here, these 8.6 and 8.7. So what that means for us, that 8.7 side is just a little bit longer. It's kind of pulled this angle apart a little bit. I know that this angle F is slightly bigger than the angle C up here at the top. So those angles aren't equal. The whole thing kind of falls apart. All right, here's what I'm asking you guys to do today. This is your assignment, right? Your assignment's on a Jamboard because that was about the best way I could kind of format it for you. All you're going to have to do is kind of fill in the blank out here, okay? The word congruent has a symbol that we're going to use instead of writing out congruent every single time. It's an equal sign with the little wavy on top of it. It's called a tilde. But this right here is called a congruent sign. Like we have an equal sign for numbers, we have a congruent sign for shapes. So what I'm asking you guys to do is to write this statement. So saying, triangle WXV over here on the left, what is it congruent to on the right? Now, it might seem pretty easy, you just slap down 3 letters, but you have to name the second triangle so that the letters correspond to the name from the first triangle. So what I mean by that, if you look at how this one is named, right, it starts triangle WXV. So I'm going to find W here. Angle W, you see how it has the 2 little marks on it? That angle W matches up with angle D over in the other triangle. So when I start naming the second triangle, I have to make sure that the first letter I put down matches up with W from the first triangle. So there is really only one right answer on these, right? I'm going to name the first one. I'll name it whatever. It doesn't matter how the first one's named, but the second one has to match up and it has to correspond to the name of the first one. So the second letter in the name is X. So angle X, that's got the single mark in it. So I know that that matches up with E in the second triangle. So I'm going to name that one DE. And then process of elimination at this point should kick in. And I know that the second one's got to be DEV. Okay. And if you look, that V that I used here, you see how it has the 3 marks in it? That matches up with the 3 marks in the first triangle on the left. Now, sometimes when they touch like that, they'll share a name of an angle. Sometimes they don't. You really have to pay attention to the markings on it. The second one down here should be significantly easier because they're completely separate triangles. So when I name my second one here, again, there's only one right answer to these. I'm going to have to start with the angle that corresponds with angle P. So P in the one on the left corresponds with F on the right. And then Q is the next one. So Q has 2 marks in it. that's going to match up with G. And then again, process of elimination, the last one's got to be H. Again, there's only one right answer on these.